Hey guys, what is up? Welcome inside the Guilty as Charged podcast presented by TickPick, the official ticketing partner of the Guilty as Charged podcast. You can use the link in the description for a $10 discount on your first purchase. That being said, we are here to preview the upcoming matchup with the Chargers and the Patriots. And joining me is Josh Fisher from the Charity Strike podcast, lifetime Patriots fan, and couldn't be happier to have him on today. Josh, thanks for taking the time to join me. How are you doing, man?
I'm amped. That intro music was blasting. I was like, who is that? Is that the Doors? I was like, yes.
Let's
rocking with it. Pump, man. I'm good. Happy to be here. Excited for this weekend. I'm more excited for this weekend now than I was about 2 weeks ago, which is great.
Okay.
Pumped. Y'all are a good football team. I think we're a good football team too. I think we're obviously on different tiers. I think I could honestly, I'd love to hear your take on it. I think we're like a year behind you guys, if that makes sense. I think like which does, because your quarterback is a year ahead of us. But I think just as a team as a whole, I think y'all obviously have a couple pieces in offense. And you had that one stud on defense too. I love Judon, but Bose is just a different kind of beast in my opinion still, despite the stats this year. So I think y'all are a bit ahead of us, but I'm stoked for this weekend.
Yeah, I think both teams are about a year, 2 years away from really contending. Personally, I know Chargers fans like to, we all like to believe that this team is ready for a Super Bowl push. Still got some roster holes, still got some things to, really gel. And I think every team really takes, a season or two to get that chemistry right. Like the Patriots have like so many moving parts. I think what do you have, like 15 different starters from last year combined or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's been
it's plug and
big
play,
roster makeover.
Yeah. I mean, he's like, he is and he isn't. Because when you think of the Patriots, it's interesting. You think of the stalwarts, the guys that are there year in and year, because we had a lot of those. We had obviously Tom, but Gronk, Welker. I mean, you go down the line when we're winning, on defense too. I know, like off air, you would ask me about Gilmore, and we'll get into that. But a lot of it's like he'll rotate guys in and out. He'll have his plug and play guys, and it's Bill is a mastermind in the sense that he gets that depth is the most important thing, even in the NFL. In sports, it just is. Like if you go to basketball, like if you look at just cross sport, because I cover everything on my show. If you go to basketball, you look at like the Nets and the Lakers, like depth's kind of an issue. Like it's a bunch of superstars and then old dudes. Like you need depth in the NBA for it to really work out. And if your big stars aren't hitting, then the depth has to come through. And if you don't have that, you're not going to be good. The Patriots have depth in spades, which is my favorite part about the team.
Yeah. I think one of those pieces that they added this year, obviously, he's a little bit more than depth because he's the starting quarterback. That's obviously Mac Jones. And I think I always like to start these with the quarterbacks. It is the most important position, really kind of determines the result. What have you been seeing from Mac Jones' development? Because I know that there was some kind of national criticism after the first few weeks, but how have the last few weeks been for Mac Jones?
I mean, the guy's a rookie, he's a rookie quarterback. So it's the Patriots. He's filling in Tom's shoes technically, but we're 3-4 and we're a close 3-4. Like that we took that Cowboys team. By the way, if you're asking me who the 5 best teams are in the NFL, I might say they're all in the NFC. And that's like tough to argue. I think it's tough to argue against that comment.
Yeah.
We took a Cowboys team to the brink, barely lost to the Bucks. We're a fumble away from beating the Dolphins, who unfortunately aren't that good. But just outside the Saints loss, really. I mean, we've played every game has been extremely tight that we've lost. So my confidence in Mac, I've never dipped confidence. It's exactly as expected. We're starting to let him push the ball downfield a bit more, but that's not necessarily always been our offense either. Our offense is pick you apart, control time possession, quick throws. Like, look, who are like the best, like most famous Patriots receivers? You got a tight end, you got Welker, and you got Edelman. Tom Brady's bread and butter was 5 yards, 6 yards, beat you to a pulp. Next thing you know, you haven't had the ball in 8 minutes. They've scored a touchdown. Their defense is freshed up and ready to go. And, you're starting with the ball on the 20. It's not great, right? And your field position's kind of meh. I mean, Mac Jones, fits, honestly, the system like a glove. He's going to have growing pains. He's going to have bad games. He's going to turn the ball over a little bit. But you know as well as I know, because the Chargers won, no, but they had a quarterback 10 plus years, 15 plus years at the helm. The same guy. How many franchises do that these days? Especially these days, none.
Not many. Yeah, not many. So we're very fortunate, right? Going from Rivers to Herbert. I know you guys kind of probably feel the same way right now about Mac Jones, but it is always funny to me, like the national narrative. Like Keyshawn Johnson is the worst of this. Of like, I want my quarterbacks to win, and it's like, okay, well, they're rookies. Like, can we maybe give them a little grace?
Quarterbacks to win. It's 11 on either side plus
Yeah,
special team. I mean, look, dude, we've seen it. We've seen not great quarterbacks win the Super Bowl. We
yeah,
have. It's just the case. Like Flacco, whether Flacco, not a Hall of Famer, not even close. In fact, he was barely a starter a couple years after they won. I mean, he obviously had a good run, but he got replaced immediately by Lamar as soon as he was in. Lamar replaced him his rookie year. Kaepernick, who he faced in the Super Bowl, obviously had all the off the field stuff that kind of maybe prevented him from getting another job. But it's not like he was an elite quarterback, and he went to the Super Bowl. Jimmy G, clearly not an elite quarterback. Super Bowl. I mean, you don't need you want your quarterbacks to win games. And if it's a minute and a half left, you're down 4 and you have the ball, your quarterback's got to show up. I mean, that's when push comes to shove. But at the end of the day, there's so many more components to the team. And like you are saying, Bill had the cushion that Bill had in the past is that he had Brady. And so the offense was always going to be very good at its worst.
Mm-hmm.
So him moving around defensive pieces, getting rid of guys, bringing guys in, having obviously a couple of guys carry over year in and year out, he had room to kind of, get the defense into shape at his own pace. So by the time the playoffs came, the defense was shut down.
Yeah.
Now he doesn't have that time. The defense kind of has, and they are performing at a high clip. Granted, they've played the Jets and the Dolphins in some of their games, but if you look at teams that have played 7 games, they're in the top 5 in points allowed. So it's a good defense. Mac Jones has been, as far as a rookie goes, superb thus far. I mean, if you look at the other rookies across the board, Fields rushed in too early, wasn't ready. And everyone, I don't think Nagy's a great head coach, but he's catching. He's not. He's catching a lot of flack for Fields not being ready. But for all intents and purposes, he wanted Dalton in the whole time, and as Dalton should be. Zach Wilson should never have started a game yet this year. Blatantly not ready. And guess what else wasn't ready? That team wasn't ready for a rookie quarterback. Now they're trading for Joe Flacco.
Cracks me up.
It's too late. It's too late. The kid's out. He's hurt. He never stood a chance. You set him up for failure. Look at Jimmy. We talk about Jimmy G not being a great quarterback. Lance hasn't really seen the field as a starting quarterback unless he's had to. Yeah. You got to wait and be patient with these guys. I mean, then you have guys like us, Herbert, who multi-year starter in the Pac-12. He was more ready to go than people anticipated. For obviously the SEC is not the NFL, despite what the SEC fans will say. But it's as close to the NFL game speed as any of the college conferences, and it's not.
Yeah.
And that part's not even close. So Mac Jones had a high floor. I'm very happy in long with what I've seen thus far. I don't think his receiving weapons are, anything to write home. Myers is good. He's not a number 1. Aguilar's good. He's like a number 3. Look, that's what Myers is a number 2. Then you got a number 3 in Aguilar. You got a number 4 in Bourne. So you have 2 through 4 ready to go. And then you have a good tight end in Hunter Henry. You just don't have that number 1 receiver yet. And I think honestly, I'm pretty happy with the offensive line thus far. We have Wynn still getting his sea legs, unfortunately, in my opinion. But that's because he's had so many years of injury and he hasn't really had a fair shake yet. So honestly, all in all, I'm pretty satisfied.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned some of the receiving weapons. It is Jacoby Myers is one of the more interesting receivers because he hasn't had a touchdown in 3 years, but he's been on the field. He's Mac Jones' number 1 target right now, at least in terms of targets and receptions. So let's dive a little bit more in depth there. Obviously, we know Chargers fans are very familiar with Hunter Henry. But who else should they get familiar with before this game comes around on Sunday? Who's making plays for Mac Jones these days?
I mean, Kendrick Bourne's starting to get more involved in the offense, and we've seen him in spurts back in San Fran, kind of jump off the page a little bit. You obviously know Myers. I at this point, I don't want him to score a touchdown. I just want him to just be like epic all the time and just not get in the end zone. It'd be the grittiest thing of all time. It's like those guys like back in the day that just used to like, bat 300 and steal bases and like not homer.
Yeah.
Like you remember Juan Pierre? Shout out to him. Like I bet you never thought he'd be mentioned in this podcast, but now he is. Like guys like that'd be super swag. I mean, he's gonna get in there eventually. He scored a 2-point conversion, I believe, the other week, and we're like, does that count? Obviously, it doesn't. Kendrick Bourne, we have a legit running back. I'm not gonna go out and say our running back is a top 5-7 running back, but he's probably a top 12 running back and a legit number 1. Which in today's NFL, there's a lot of committee going on. I'm super confident with him with the ball in his hands. I think the fumbling issues are behind him. I'm a big fan of Damien Harris. So him, Jacoby, Hunter. I mean, you know what you're getting in Hunter Henry, but Bourne is one guy who's got some big playability that if I'm the Chargers defense, I'm keying in on a little bit more.
Yeah, so you mentioned Damien Harris. Obviously, the Chargers' run defense is very well deservingly maligned these days. They're worst in the league right now. As a Patriots fan, what are you expecting out of Harris in this game? Because I mean, it seems kind of like softball pitch. Here's the home run for Bill Belichick. I'm just going to run the ball 30 times this game. Keep Justin Herbert off the field. But what do you expect out of Damien Harris on Sunday?
That, like, that. I mean, no, that's what I expect. If you want to win in the NFL, in college, in high school, Pee-wee, on Madden, any which way, you got to run the football. You got to. Running the football is so important in so many facets. Like, I'm rocking the Texas gear. Are we live, by the way? It says live in the corner. I don't know if we are.
It's just recording. Yeah, just recording.
What up, everybody? Regardless, I'm rocking Texas gear. When we run the football, we're pretty unstoppable as a Texas team. Running the football, when the Patriots run the football, when we lost to the Giants in 2007, we were running with Maroney pretty well in the playoffs. And then we totally abandoned the run. And I'm not saying that's why we lost the game, but it didn't help. You need to be able to run the football in the NFL. Even with the high-flying, gun-slinging, like Pat Mahomes behind the back, NFL Street 2 to Jeremy Shockey off a brick wall. Even with all this going on, like, you need to be able to run the football. And if you have a Chargers defense who can't stop the bleeding, then you got to gash them where you can. Because this Chargers team is good. And if Herbert has the ball in his hands, it's not good. He's lethal. He's got Mike Williams is healthy, and he's showing why he was a top 10 pick. Keenan Allen, the numbers aren't jumping off the page. In my opinion, he's still one of the best route runners, if not the best. And even if he's not putting up the numbers, having him out there it opens it up for Mike Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Cook just gets better with age. He's a fine wine. And Eckler, who is one of the nicest dudes in the world, he's just like a Swiss Army knife. Honestly, if I'm the Chargers, like, you're missing like a paired running back to go with Eckler. Not the guy to take over for him, but someone to spell him. Yes. Because I would love a little bit more out of Stevenson. We're using Brandon Bolden for some reason for like the first time in like 20 years. All of a sudden he is like a gadget piece we're into. I'm about like, look, we scored the football. I don't really care how we do it. But you got to run and keep it out of it at number 10's hands. Number 10's he's a special player. He's the talent. He's the guy you build around. He's the guy that you're hoping, if there's no injuries, number 10 is going to be there till 2040, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. That would be fantastic for us, get that Tom Brady career for sure. You mentioned the offensive line too, and obviously that's a big part of the running attack. Is everybody on that unit healthy right now? Because I know that, Ueno has kind of been flipping around between positions.
Now,
what's the status of the offensive line right now?
I mean, no one's fully healthy. I mean, we've had injuries across the board. Andrews has had some tough times, We've had moving pieces at right tackle. Obviously, Trent Brown's done. So, he's
done for the year?
Not for the year, but he's out for this game. He's on the IR. And we've had major moving pieces but that's the point. Like, you had depth, right? And you have guys that can do play multiple. Bill Belichick, his bread and butter is having guys in the offensive line that aren't one-trick ponies that can be moved and shifted around. And when who can move around, Shaq Mason can kind of move around. He had Cannon before who can move around. We've had guys in the past who can slide across the offensive line. And when guys get hurt, obviously you hate to see it and you don't want your starters to go out, but you have other guys that can slot in. You have the depth. Depth in the offensive line. Like people think, okay, I have my 5 offensive linemen and I'm good to go. Gone. Wrong. Those days are over. So I think the depth of the offensive line has been a major savings grace for the Patriots. And I'm pretty happy with the way they filled. I was stoked for Trent Brown to come back. I really like Trent Brown. He was great for us. Fortunately, he's been out for a few games. I think he'll be back. But Onwenu has been a revelation. It's a great pick. Shaq Mason's dynamite. And whoever's in there, Karras or Andrews is great too.
Yeah, that's always something I've been very jealous of. The Chargers have finally invested in the offensive line, got a really good unit this year, but it's taken them a long time under Tom Telesco to figure that out. So I've always been very jealous. Want to shift gears and talk about the defense because, obviously, there were a lot of different factors that contributed to that 45-0 beatdown from last year, but the defense really made things tough on Justin Herbert. They didn't really do anything spectacular. It was just, a lot of stunts, a lot of, one-on-one wins. How do you think Bill Belichick is going to attack Justin Herbert this time? Obviously, like I said, better offensive line. Herbert's better himself. What do you think we can see from the Patriots defense in this game and as an attempt to slow down Justin Herbert?
That last year was an anomaly. That's never going to happen again against this kid. I know. I can't say with us. I can't say never again because they had a tough time against the Ravens. And you will have those. You're going to have those games. Like, look, the Packers are better than the Saints. Let's be realistic. Who are you come January? Who are you more confident in? Packers or Saints? But they had a blunder to start the year. Teams are going to, like the Ravens had one last week after y'all had one against them. Teams are going to flop sometimes. I'm not looking at that game as the sign of things to come against us. You got to throw pressure in this kid's face. You got to contain him because he can move with his legs, and you got to give him as little time as possible because his weapons, not only downfield but out of the backfield, are great in the receiving game. Eckler is, if one of the best, probably not the best because he still got McCaffrey, who will include even though he's hurt. You got Kamara, but Eckler is top 5 receiving back in the NFL in my mind, no question. So that's a major component. So he's got that safety valve. And then you got Keenan Allen, like we mentioned, great route runner, and Mike Williams. So this guy doesn't need too much time. He can really make plays happen rather quickly. And he can make plays happen with his feet. So I think, confusing him in coverages, probably this. Belichick will float around types of defenses he puts out. I've even seen him go like a 5-2 in the past, like we're playing high school football out here. So he's not afraid to do that. But I would, run a couple like 3 safeties, 2 corners out there. I know Jones is out. We obviously lost Gilmore, but getting that extra cushion, maybe use Phillips as a blitz, do Kyle Duggar as a blitz.
My guy, Adrian Phillips, man, miss him.
He's good. I like Phillips a lot. I like Kyle Duggar. They're all the safeties are good. Kind of, just as that extra cushion because this guy could torch you in many different ways and honestly up and down the field. There's no limit to what he can do. He's great in the short, medium, and long range. So this is not the same Justin Herbert as we saw last year, and that Justin Herbert we saw last year was excellent.
That is very true. So it's going to be an interesting challenge for the defense for sure. You mentioned Matthew Judon. I know they brought back Kyle Van Noy. Dante Hightower is back from the opt-out as well. What's the status of the front 7 right now? And how who can we be sure to keep an eye on this Sunday?
Dude, you forgot the man. You forgot Jamie Collins back.
Oh. Was this like his 5th time?
I mean, it did. Like, I didn't even bat an eyelid. It came on the ticker. It was like Jamie Collins waived by the Lions. Like, I felt my phone buzz like an hour later. It could have been a text from my grandma, but deep down I knew that Jamie Collins was signed by the Patriots, and I was right. That's what happens. I think, Judon's obviously the guy you key in on. I love Gottschall. I love, Wise is solid. Uche is really good. He's got a lot of promise. I think, we have a good mix of vets and young guys who don't have to do too much and can kind of, filter in and cycle through rather than play throughout the entirety of the game. Again, back to what I was saying at the top, the depth of the Patriots defense is massive. Like losing Jonathan Jones is a blow, but we didn't have Gilmore the whole year, and he's definitely our best defensive player, and we were still fine. So having that, and I'm not saying you're just it's next man up. Julio Jones is great, but that's why you bring in Jalen Mills. That's why you go out there and trade for Sean Wade. Like that's why you have all these guys, and that's why you have like a bevy of safeties so you can run 5 deep back there and get some extra help. I think the Patriots defense, especially as of late, it's not been like obviously you have Gilmore the corner, but it's not really been one singular guy in the front seven. It's just been a good, healthy mix of rotating guys in and out and having fresh legs.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know, on our show, we talk about special teams quite a bit. It's been an awful year for special teams again for the Chargers.
Yeah.
Although the punt team is good. Punt team is a good part of the unit. But I've got to ask you, over or under one special teams touchdowns for the Patriots on Sunday?
We're gonna block a punt just because you said that. That's it. I'm going with it. I was gonna say Gunner wasn't gonna get one. I was gonna, be glass half empty, pessimistic. But just because you came in there talking smack about how dope your punt team's been, we're smacking 150 yards out. We're not even gonna block it. We're just gonna come right through and give it like the Rock, like people's elbow. Like we're gonna taunt you guys as we block your punt. And what's going on with the kicking game? Like, do kids it's the fastest, it's like the second fastest track. If you want to go to the NFL and you're under 6 foot and you're not fast, pretty much describing myself here. Get to the backyard, start banging field goals.
Do you have a soccer background?
Heck no.
Well,
I'm not. There's a reason I talk sports. Man, I don't play it, but if I was like a soccer player and I knew like my high school career was pretty toast, my career in soccer was toast after high school. I wasn't going to play, any D1 or D3 schools. I wasn't going to go play Ivy. I would have been out in the backyard banging field goals, kicking footballs, because it's a fast track. No one's good at it. Like there's very few guys that are just good at it these days. Everyone's getting picked off, off Dunkin' Donuts lines. Like, what are we doing here? You can't find a great kicker anymore.
Dunkin' Donuts lines. I love it. So I'm going to ask you this. The Chargers have been in Los Angeles since 2017. This is their 5th season. How many kickers do you think they've had in those 4.5 seasons?
They've been here 5 years almost.
This is the 5th season. Yeah.
Oh my God. What is going on with time? 8,
11.
What?
Yeah. Dustin Hopkins will be their 11th kicker to kick a field goal or extra point on Sunday. They had 4 in 2017 alone. 4 in one season. So I don't know what it is about this position that has given the Chargers hell over the past few seasons. We hope, right, that Dustin Hopkins is going to be here to stay. We'll see. Obviously he was released from Washington, so he's a little bit older, but yeah, man, it's not been a pretty situation for us.
That's super sad. It's honestly borderline. It's borderline pathetic. Pathetic. We had Vinatieri and Gostkowski, and now we have Nicky under 50 Folk.
Yeah.
Under
Nicky
50.
Under 50.
Nicky under 50. Dude, he's absolutely. I'm coining that. I literally just cuffed that. That was probably one of the best things I've said in the last 3 months in radio. I'm glad I was not on my show and you got it. Yeah, under 50, he's electric. Over 50, it's like, might as well just bring out the nuns, start praying.
That's how Michael Badgley was for us. So
yeah,
we're familiar with that kind of kicker. The Money Badger was his nickname, and I hated it.
Money Badger? Yeah, where's he these days, right? Not on the team.
He's in Indy right now.
He's in Indy, right. He's in Indy.
Yeah.
God. Wow, with Blankenship, like he was in college for like 30 years.
He was in college for a long time.
He's the Perry Ellis of college football, for anybody who remembers who Perry Ellis was.
There we go. Yeah, tons of references today. I love it.
Yeah.
We'll get you out of here on this one. I said we take 25 minutes. We're about
Yeah,
there.
you're
So,
good. Yeah.
I always like to ask predictions on, from our guests on the show. So what do you think the final score is on Sunday and who wins it?
All right, going with my head, not my heart. I'm going to go Chargers by the score of 27-21.
So the Chargers cover then.
Yeah, put up. They score 4 touchdowns. Hopkins misses an extra point because they're kicking because the kicking stinks.
Come on, man.
You're setting yourself up. I have to. If you guys are legit, this is a game you win.
Yeah,
because we're good. We are good, not great. If you are a good football team, you win this game at home. If you lose this game at home, don't even think about like going deep in the playoffs. Maybe you'll make it, but I'm serious. Don't think about it because this is a game you win at home.
No, I do agree with that.
100%.
And it's been since 2008 since the Chargers have beaten the Patriots. It's been a while. I was a freshman in high school when that happened. So
2000,
good stuff.
2008, you're a freshman in high school? I didn't even know what I was. Oh, you might be a year or two older than me, I think.
I'm 27.
Oh, you're a year older than me, but you look a lot wiser with the beard.
I appreciate that. Also, I appreciate you're the first guest of ours that has picked against the team that you cover. So you are the first guest of an opposing team to pick the Chargers to win.
I'm a realist, dude. Look, my team has won so many times that I'm not just gonna think with my heart and be stupid. You want to give the fans and people listening a realistic approach, right? I'm not gonna say if I come in here, first of all, and you too, like you bring me on your show, you're entrusting me to come on and give somewhat decent analysis. If I come on this program like the Patriots are gonna win 38-13, you're like, this guy's a clown.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So there we got to keep the relationship alive. There you go.
There you go, man. Well, Josh, this has been great, man. Where can Chargers fans find you if they want some Patriots intel this week?
Patriots intel. You could find us Spotify, Apple, on Instagram. We're the Charity Stripe. We also do a Texas football podcast. Y'all like Texas football called Horns Up. We do that with Quan Cosby, UT Great. Just had Derek Johnson on. We have a lot of cool people coming through. We also have a show. Oh my God, you guys will love this. We have a show on 1090 AM, the Mightier 1090. We're on there 6 to 7 p.m. on Thursdays. So that's us. Giving a bunch of weird references as you've been keying into here tonight or today, whenever you're listening. So go catch us there. Steven, we'll have you back on our program to do a run back, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Couldn't be happier with how this turned out. And we'll be in touch soon.
Sweet, man.